missing link to the puzzle.
I know. I feel like I'm replacing him.
Because you're in his seat today?
Yeah, it's not right.
It's not real. Shouldn't be happening. Welcome to Pick It and Flick It podcast. My name is Vox.
And I'm Natasha.
And if it's not obvious already, we're missing Luke. But that's fine, because this is the first time we've ever podcasted alone. We've always podcasted with other people.
Yeah. I mean, we usually talk throughout the day anyway, so there's not really much for us to talk about on a podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
Just you and I.
But today we have stuff to talk about as we kick off the technical third annual Halloween Extravaganza, although the second one didn't play out, which is pretty much why Luke's not here to begin with, because he's not convinced that we can do 31 movies in the month of October, releasing one every single day, this obviously being the first on October 1st. So if everything goes well, there will be a podcast every single day. So
I think we can do it. I just don't think he has faith in us, because he's the one that cancels.
Yeah, he's a busy boy, though, because he's got,
I know.
He's got confused reviews, and then, he's still going to school and all this other BS.
And
and a girlfriend.
Yeah, someone else to... You and I are always here.
Yeah,
so
we live together.
It's not like you have to attend to me when we're doing the podcast, because I'm already...
Yeah, because you're here.
Yeah.
We'll get his girlfriend on here one day, I bet.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think if we do the movie that we've talked about, that she might be on it.
Yes. But anyways, like I said, if all goes well, this is going to be the third annual Halloween Extravaganza, not the lost episodes that were published, a couple months back. But today we kicked it all off for the 1st of October with... I thought we were going to start strong, but... Apparently
I was not expecting much from this movie.
Oh, I was. So we start with, as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, The Forever Purge from 2021. I realized while we were watching this movie that I had not seen the fourth one.
Which one was the fourth one?
The first Purge. I have not seen the fourth one. Yeah.
I think I saw that with Mike and Kyle.
Maybe that was the case, but... Because I've seen the other three, or the first three, but I have not seen the fourth. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, I don't know if the first was that a prequel? Was the first Purge a prequel?
Yeah, it was a prequel.
So obviously the first Purge, would have been a prequel to the movies. However, I think this is continuing on from where is the third one election year? Yeah,
where the third one ended. And it started off super political.
Super political.
The whole thing was very political.
This whole movie
but
is
just like the narration in the beginning talking about the NFFA.
Yes.
And how, and then the wall was around Mexico.
Yeah, they showed
which was surprising to me. But I guess, it ended up working out for them in the end that they had the wall.
Since we're going right into it, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen The Purge or The Forever Purge, whatever.
If you're listening to this, then you should be ready to be spoiled. So
yeah, absolutely. I think though that the opening credits were the best animation and CGI in this movie. It looked the best. That was the best thing, because they had pictures of there was a couple soldiers saluting the flag, and then all of a sudden it would flash and go all red, and the flag would be burning, and the White House is on fire, and all this other stuff. And like you said, there was a guy that was a cowboy standing on a cliff or whatever, looking down at Mexico, and then all of a sudden it would flash and turn red, and there was a wall in front of him.
Yeah, which was surprising to me, because
I think they were trying to hit on a few different, aspects of the world. Obviously, we have just come out of, I don't know when this was filmed, but, we had just come out of COVID. It's 2021, so I'm assuming it was probably filmed 2019 to 2020, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, and even during that time, there was still the stuff going on with, Trump rallies and all that stuff.
But that's what I'm saying. We were coming out of COVID. We were coming out of an election. We were coming out of, the Black Lives Matter movement that was heavily, reflected on and spotlighted in the media throughout 2020 and 2021. So I think they were trying to like, oh, we're gonna make this so relatable, but it really fell flat because it's full of like cringeworthy.
It was too racist. It was like,
so
we're gonna
try-hard.
try and be relatable, but we're also just gonna make it so obvious that we're doing this. Just like, Don't Look Up.
Right.
Like, I really like that movie, but anyway, it's just they're trying to be so proactive and so, like you said, relatable, but it just seems like it's too much. They're trying too hard.
Yeah, and speaking of trying too hard, we weren't even 5 minutes into this movie, which starts off as like, like Tosh said, it was going through the intro of, okay, there's a lot of immigrants coming into the United States. They're bringing back the Purge after they ended the Purge in the third movie, and they're kind of like pushing this new propaganda with the new, it didn't say it straight out, but it's like a new Republican in the White House, and the new, House and Senate voted this thing back in. So it showed like a group of Mexicans crossing the border from Mexico into Texas, and they're not even 5 minutes into the movie, and they're going through like this little cave area, and this little kid who's supposed to be guiding these people through the cave like stops and jumps out and scares them, which is immediate, like super loud, super in your face. It's like what Luke always references as, scary movies now are just loud. That's all it is. It's just loud in your face kind of stuff. And
they are like, and like, I think, was it this movie or was it the movie we were watching yesterday? I don't know. There was a movie we were watching where anytime there was going to be a jump scare, it got quiet.
Oh yeah, that was the movie we watched yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, it was. All right.
Yeah. So regardless, though, it was just kind of like I can already tell where this was going to be going. Now, I want to preface this by saying that Tosh and I both enjoy the Purge movies. In fact, when we started dating, it was kind of like when she found out that I was into Halloween scary stuff, and I found out that she was into Halloween scary stuff. We were kind of like, okay, do you like this franchise? Do you like this franchise? And you didn't watch Saw, right?
I had watched like the first one, but I never really it just didn't really interest me, and none of my friends were into it, so I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, and if you've been listening to the show, or if you're new to the show, regardless, I am a Saw fan. I like the Saw movies, so when we found out that we both enjoyed the Purge movies to the extent that it was that they are.
Well, spoiler alert, I was for Halloween one year, me and one of my ex-boyfriends, we dressed up from the Purge, and he kind of ruined it because I wanted to be like the original with like the scary face, like the realistic looking mask, and he wanted to do the white. He did the white mask and then painted it, and I was like, I didn't. And he was like, "That's what I want to do." I'm like, "Whatever, you do you." But I hate it. I wish we would have been like in uniform.
Yeah,
and we weren't. So
well.
We're
not going to do that, but we enjoy it. So I already had known, though, where this movie was going to go, and I think that the 5 minute in jump scare that wasn't even meant to be like a scary thing was just setting the standard.
Yeah. Well, I think I like the Purge movie so much is because it's more realistic. Like, I know that it wouldn't ever happen, but it is like something that could possibly happen, and that scares me.
And I think, though, that that's a good point, that you could argue that this movie highlights, and you mentioned this while we were watching it, why the Purge cannot happen.
Right.
Like, it just can't happen, Like,
because
it would never happen.
Yeah, are we jumping all around, or are we starting from the beginning?
We don't have to. If you're interested in figuring out what this movie is, just go watch it. Like we're gonna jump around. There's gonna be other movies, I think, where we're gonna break down the synopsis, like we've done in previous, shows. But this one, it's just here's the thing: the Purge happens. If you don't know what the Purge is, you need to start from the beginning. The Purge happens. We follow a group of people that are trying to get safe and make it to the morning of the Purge. The only difference is this Purge lasts forever, and I'm using air quotes for both of those things because there's crazy alt-right people that are trying to cleanse the world. Yeah, that's the thing is people wouldn't just give it up. They would keep going, and you give people an inch and they take a mile. Yeah, that's just how it is, and that's how it's always going to be. But they just can't. That's what my fear was always. I mean, if it were to ever happen here, it wouldn't just be one night. People wouldn't just take it one night, and then there's all these people with guns and all these people that have these weapons that could just take over the police, because there's more people than there are police, especially now. Right, and they've proven that with the riot, with all of the protests and stuff going on. Yeah, I mean, or back in I would say this is recorded back in after the back in 2020 when all the
protests were happening, it was proven that the people can overtake the police, and that's why I think it took place after.
Yeah.
After everything happened in 2020.
Yeah. If we are to kind of focus on the story stuff, they try to, in the very beginning at least, do this foreshadowing kind of ordeal. And the funny thing is, I put a note in here and said Tosh called everything that happened, because anytime there was like some kind of event that was going on, you literally called out like, "Oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, this is gonna happen." So when the purge we start with this drawn out thing where we're following this couple that was in the beginning and came in from Mexico, and now they're working on a farm or a cowboy ranch rather in Texas, and you were kind of like, okay, they're drawing this out a lot where we see him kind of wrangling the horse and they're kind of like building this relationship, and you kind of identify that the white people are racist, but the grandpa isn't racist, but the cowboy is a Mexican now, and it's just kind of like this weird like cowboy dude ranch kind of thing. And every time something was going on, you were like, I bet this is going to happen. I bet this is going to happen. So right before the purge happens, the owners of the ranch give all their employees protection money.
Yeah.
And the one guy's like, I ain't going to use this for protection.
Yeah, and I was like, he's going to get weapons. And Vox was like, that's protection. And I was like, weapons aren't protection.
Yeah, well, and I didn't realize that they were going to a place that was actually going to protect them during the purge.
Right. You were just assuming that they would just go wherever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when everything was so smooth, I was like, this is obviously, I mean, we were a half hour into the movie. I knew it wasn't over at that point.
Right.
But I don't understand. Did they kill the farmer because he's not racist?
No, he was just, okay, so he spoke up and said, like, hey, you do realize that you're becoming the same person.
Like, why did they attack that family? Because they hired Mexicans?
No. He was saying the dude that you called out.
Oh, because he spoke out in the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he wanted them to run the ranch, and he was like, you have a bunch of money. Like, I want to be in charge. I want to do that. It didn't make any sense. It was illogical the way that he was like portraying that all of these cowboy dudes that are wearing fucking skull face paint and COVID masks, they were like, we're going to take over this ranch because we want all the money. And that's why the old man was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
And so speaking of which, the old man, the grandfather, is played by Will Patton. The guy that we keep forgetting is Will Patton.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was in Friday Night Lights, but he's actually in Remember the Titans.
Right. And more recently,
football, so.
He's in Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. Right. So that's ironic that, he keeps kind of popping up in these. Not that Halloween in 2018 and Halloween Kills were like these B movies, but like this is a B movie.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like this
and he also narrates some Stephen King novels that we've listened to.
Which are my favorite novels, actually. So it's always funny because I always forget what his fucking face is, and then I hear his voice and I'm like, hey.
Well, every time I see him, I'm like, hey, I know that guy, and then I think he's from Friday Night Lights, and then I'm wrong.
You won't forget now.
But, yeah, there's a Mark Salone's daughter from Grey's Anatomy. I don't know her real name, but she was the sister.
Where's her letterbox?
I don't know. I don't have it up. But she was in Grey's Anatomy, and I knew she looked familiar. Levin Rambian.
Sure.
And then Josh Lucas, who always looks super familiar to me, but the only thing I know him from is Sweet Home Alabama, which is a cinematic classic.
A way better cowboy movie.
I love that movie. It's such a good movie.
But yeah, anyway, so they killed Will Patton's character off because he was saying that the only reason the purge started is because fucking rich white people wanted it to happen.
Oh.
So they were like, okay, shut up, old man, and shot him in the head, which honestly I think is the only good-looking kill in this movie.
Well, that was something that I wrote down. Like, a lot of the time when stuff happens, it either happens so fast, I'm like, what happened?
Right.
Or they don't show what happened. Like when they were in the police van and then it rolled over and then that girl died. I just heard it, but I didn't see what happened. So
that's a good point because that's kind of my next note because there was so many bad things happening in this movie. I just wanted to highlight good stuff. So that van was actually hit by an RPG, a rocket propelled grenade. Like,
Okay.
it showed the guy shooting it. But here's the thing. I've watched enough combat footage on Reddit to know that if you shoot a van with an RPG, it's not just going to dent the side of it like it did. It would have ripped that thing apart.
Okay.
It literally just cracked the windshield and rolled it over. And then
Yeah.
when they panned out from it, the front of it was dented in and the side of it was dented in. Like, that's no. I'm not a military guy, and I'm definitely not a weapons expert or an explosives expert. But I know for a fact that would not just leave a dent in a cracked windshield. You know?
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
have no
that's
idea,
like
so.
to go on what you're saying is, yeah, they were flipping it over, and her head was forward, and then when it landed, it smashed backwards, and it just splattered her brains all over the
Would
thing.
that happen like that?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been in a van and flipped
I don't think
over
it would have
and-
happened. I don't know.
It's all just a little bit hokey.
She was. I mean, I do think that her and the other guy were on some hardcore drugs. 'Cause
Probably.
She's got this sparkly makeup and is acting high, so
all
I
crazy.
figured she was on drugs. But
To fill in the portion of story that we skipped, the purge happens.
Oh, yeah.
The purge ends. Grandpa Joe dies, and then
all of these people that are part of the Forever Purge want to get rid of all of the immigrants that are in
pretty
America.
much. So, anyways, the Mexican couple that we've been following, husband goes to work on the dude ranch, wife goes to the meat factory, and tries to rescue a goat. People attack her. She attacks back, gets arrested by the police, and
Even though the guys that she killed were in fucking bunny suits.
yeah, very strange.
So why was it not obvious who the killers were and who the bad guys were?
Right.
And the police were like, nope.
Nope, get in the van, and that's how they got in the van that got blown up. Because they were
Yes.
driving through the town, and the purge is still happening. There we go. Never
Yeah.
caught up, and we can move on to the next points. This movie was wild, man.
Yeah.
It was 2.5, or it was an hour and 50 minutes.
It felt
It was
long.
almost 2 hours. Yeah, I thought it was way shorter than that.
Yeah,
That's why
you said it was 90 minutes.
I thought it was 90 minutes for some reason. I thought it was only going to be like an hour 15, and we're done. Get the fuck out.
No,
but no.
that's when it hit a point, I was like, damn, this movie seems really long.
It was really long. It's ridiculously long, actually.
Yeah. So then people are trying to get in the van. The van ends up being. Of course, these people always end up finding their way back to each other when they're traveling all throughout southern Texas.
Yeah, they're like in El Paso.
Yeah, and then they always end up coming back to each other, which, whatever. I
Yes.
guess it wouldn't have made sense if they didn't come back to each other.
No, it's very weird, though. It's just so many things happen so quickly.
Right, like they get split up like 5 times, and each time they end up coming back.
Yes. I will give this thing a little bit of props, though, because the irony in it is just fucking hilarious to me. Because eventually, as the purge continues throughout the day and these people are trying to escape, they heard on the radio that, like, all Canadian borders and Mexico borders are being opened up for 6 hours to take refuge for anyone who can get across.
Yeah.
So it's so fucking funny that this white, hillbilly cowboy dude and his racist family, which they weren't really racist. It was just kind of like this overtone. The
didn't
wife
really-
and the sister are kind of like, oh, no, we like them. You need to meet the rest of their family. And then the grumpy,
Oh, yeah, I don't need to meet their family.
yeah, the grumpy husband's like, fuck you. And then grandpa is like, hey, man, you need to be cooler. Well, grandpa being the voice of reason gets shot in the
Of
fucking
course,
head.
yeah. So then Josh Lucas, I don't even know what his name was.
But
Dylan.
care. I don't care.
Dylan has to figure out how to not be racist.
Yeah.
and
So,
set
anyways,
aside his differences.
they are like, okay, we got to go back to Mexico. So the Mexicans who just crossed the border to get into the U.S. for safe salvage and to start a new life have to go back to their home country because it's the safest place. And then the racist family, I'm using racist in air quotations, the racist family has to go into Mexico because the United States people are trying to kill them.
Right.
So it's just like this crazy, crazy thing. So anyways, they get into a truck, a semi-truck. They
Which
get
was a
3
weird-
miles to the gallon and drive fucking 4 hours south to the border because they get to El Paso with 2 hours left. And when they started driving, it was sunset, and when they got there, it was pitch black.
Yeah.
So they drove for a few hours.
Well, yeah, because they were saying we have 6 hours to get there.
Yeah, and then they got there, and they only had 2 hours left. So you drive for 4 fucking hours, and then the announcer's saying, like, 2 hours before the border closes. It's why are you driving a fucking semi truck all the way there? And mind you, that semi truck took more bullets than any other vehicle in this fucking movie, and there was tanks in this movie.
You don't think that the semi trucks would be able to take something like that?
Not when they're repeatedly shooting.
Yeah.
That they got shot so many times in the engine that radiator would just have.
And why?
Died.
Like it was weird because when they took the semi truck, it was just sitting there in the middle of the farm. Or in the middle of the ranch.
Yeah, it's just like chilling.
It's like, oh.
We're good.
Okay.
It might skip a little for you guys, but who cares? We both stopped.
It's like, oh, here's a semi truck. Let's get in it. It was just weird. And then the fact that they put a state of emergency out and issued martial law, I felt like was a lot like 2022. Because they were like threatening that.
2020, also.
Yes, 2020 as well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because same thing. We heard a lot of that during COVID. The martial law in effect, keeping people off the streets if there was going to be so much, ruckus. And I think a couple cities did put martial law into effect because of the protests and stuff. But we live kind of in a more suburban area than city life.
Yeah. But the fact that all of these military people are getting blown up and shot, I'm like, these people are trained to do this. And you just picked up shooting as a hobby and guns as a hobby, and you're going to be able to
overpower these military members.
What?
Yeah, very strange.
And then the military bases blowing up and shit. I'm just like, that made it very. I mean, it's good because if it were too realistic, I would have been like shitting my pants.
Yeah, because you're a worrywart.
Yeah.
I have 2 pages of notes.
Oh my gosh.
And the last note I put on the first page is right when they get to El Paso. And I said, the rest of this movie simply turns into a laser tag game where it's run from cover to cover and shoot anything that's moving towards you, including military members. Because when they jumped out of the truck after it, got blocked off in the road, they literally just shot anything that was moving towards them.
Yeah, and of course, everyone that they shot were bad guys. None of them were military men.
Well, no, they were shooting at the military men, too, because when they had to cross the street and the tank was down there and the guys were walking forward, those were military people. Who the fuck do you think is driving the tank?
Oh, I don't know.
And not shooting at the tank.
I didn't know those were military
Yeah,
men.
they were fucking shooting at the military people down the street as they crossed over to try to find these roses that they were following, as a sign of passage. It kind of reminded me of the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
When they had different markings and stuff.
I did enjoy that part though, because it was
There's
of like
lots of redeeming qualities in this movie, but they were just poorly executed in the grand scheme of things and under the umbrella. When they're in El Paso, I wrote this down as a quote from you, so I'll give you credit for this, not me. But the white trash Rachel McAdams is like a bunch of, they're finally getting all the way to safety, and then all of a sudden they're stuck in an alley, and a bunch of hillbillies come out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing Tasha says was, why does that chick look like a white trash Rachel McAdams?
Yeah, and Fox was like, who's Rachel McAdams again? Remind me.
Yeah, I totally forgot. But once you said The Notebook, I was like, oh, shit. Oh, yeah, and she's in Mean Girls, too. Mm-hmm. Which we did, speaking of that, we did a review way back when. When was that, last year?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we did a review of Mean Girls. So if you're interested in hearing my first time, that was my first time ever watching.
Out for 15 years.
Yeah, it was my first time ever watching Mean Girls, and we did a review of it. So if you're interested in hearing that, go check that out.
Well, speaking of that scene, there was throughout the movie, or throughout their travels to El Paso, there was a lot of hints at there being a love story between one of the ranch workers and the sister, the white sister. I don't know their names.
No, it doesn't matter.
They don't even say their names.
Their names don't matter.
And they had this peanut butter, like he grabbed the peanut butter and she grabbed the jelly.
Oh, when they were trying to scrounge for food.
They made jokes at each other, and it was obvious. And then Vox was like, that guy's going to die.
Yep. And guess what happened?
Yeah, he dies, and she is beside herself, even though she's
completely crushed.
Never had any interest in this guy until they are about to die.
Yeah, that was pretty strange. But you know what? I feel like that is a thing that happens, not just in the Purge movies, but in a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, there's a bond that's.
This wasn't a horror movie, right? This was more of a.
I think it's horror.
No, it was more suspense, and it's not really a thriller. It was just more kind of suspense action. where because it's not like
there's blood, there's gore, there's jump scares. I think it's
boy.
a horror movie.
I will.
Well, then there was one point that I couldn't tell if the pregnant woman was shot or if she was going into labor, because the vehicle was shot, and then she goes, oh, and she like moves back like she was shot.
I think that was supposed to be her water broke.
Yeah, but she moved, like the car was shot, and then she jumped back like she was shot.
Yeah,
I don't know. And then
it was very weird. Yeah,
and then at one point it looked like she was holding her leg.
She was walking, holding her leg for like a solid 3-minute scene.
Yeah,
like as they chug through, and then when they get like to another portion, she's holding the opposite leg.
Right. So I was just
like, what's happening?
If she did get shot, they're doing a really bad job of showing it, but then they acknowledge that she's going into labor and never say anything about her being shot.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming she wasn't shot, but I was very confused.
Yeah, I put on here too after my quotation from you for the white trash Rachel McAdams is that guys that call their wives mother just scream inbreeding.
Ugh. Disgusting.
Just scream inbreeding. Because that guy who ended up shooting the love interest man, the I hate saying Mexican, but like he is Mexican, so the Mexican who is in love with the sister or has an interest in the sister,
right?
His wife, who is the white trash of Rachel McAdams, he called her mother like constantly. It was very strange.
Yeah, it's different when it's like you're talking to your kid and you're like, go ask mom or go ask dad. But when there's like mother or daddy, it's very weird.
Yeah, strange.
And it's yeah.
To wrap up like the story here, they make it to Mexico, and
they're in El Paso, and there's a fighting scene after everyone's traveling.
Okay, so we can wrap
Mexico.
that real fast, and then you can talk about that cheesy ass fighting scene.
Yeah,
they they follow the roses, get to a safe house, then the military base is exploded, and Mexico says fuck this, closes the borders. So they go and meet up with a guy who I'm presuming is Indian, like Native American.
He does look,
because he's got this, and all the people that he's with have long, straight black hair.
Yeah,
tan skin. He's got braided hair. Like he screams, deep Texas, deep South, Native American.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was supposed to be or if he was supposed to be a Mexican, but we see that character on like the CNN or the Fox
he's like
News.
The Messiah.
Yeah, throughout the movie. And so anyways, they find him, they load everyone into the back of a truck, drive them to like pretty much the border, and they're like, okay, we got to walk on foot all the way up to
walk through the mountains
to Mexico. And the redneck people who ended up escaping somehow pretty much say, oh, we found you, and chase them down on dirt bikes and dune buggies.
ATVs and follow them.
Break into this like barn that's out in the middle of nowhere, and then that's when the corny fight commences, which you loved. I heard you loved that fight.
Yeah, they're in this brick. Is it brick or stone?
It was all wood, like wood and stone.
There was like wood and stone, yeah. And then there's in the back of it, there's dead animal bones and faces and stuff, and they put them on. Yeah. Which I think that was clever.
Another thing that you called. You're like, oh, they're gonna put those on.
Yeah, well, because they just zoomed right into it, and that was clever, and that was fine. But then once they went into the front of the room, and they're fighting, it was just obvious that it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Like there was no even trying or pretending. It was just like this. It felt like slow motion.
I would say it was in like slow motion almost.
Yeah,
like, they weren't trying to be. They weren't trying to be in slow motion. It was just moving slowly.
Yeah, and that was terrible. But all of the bad guys died.
Yep. Because it's a movie.
Yeah.
And then they make it to Mexico.
Yeah.
And then she has a plastic baby.
Oh God! And it was it CGI'd or was it a puppet?
The mouth was CGI'd.
Oh,
so
God.
Like when it was like moving its mouth, it was just like like just very
and
small.
it sounded like the baby said dada when he grabbed it.
Oh,
but
it
wasn't obvious. It was like I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
That was the scariest part of the movie. It was that plastic baby that he was like kissing on and shit.
Yeah,
it was very strange.
Well, and then they hinted at there being another one because there's not, and maybe not another purge, but something similar because they were like, there's not an end in sight.
Yeah, so they like zoom out. A news report happens, and and you see the entire United States pretty much in flames.
Yeah.
And then we're pretty close to Detroit, so that was interesting to see. The brightest two colors in the Northeast was fucking Detroit and Chicago.
Yeah, the UP was clear though.
Yeah,
so I mean that's
UP
where we got
dark.
ahead. If
yeah,
there's
we're gonna
ever
go
a
straight
purge.
up there, right across the border. Anyways, yeah, so they kind of are hinting at another one, which obviously they're gonna do another one.
Yeah,
why would they not do another purge? So I got to say, my last note on here is that this movie was produced by Michael Bay. And I said, Michael Bay, you let me down with your lack of good explosions. Using CGI fire? What the fuck, man?
Well, I mean, it makes sense seeing that it was a Michael Bay movie with all the explosions.
Yeah, but all the explosions were CGI.
Yes, but Michael Bay. I mean, I don't know Michael Bay as well as you do, obviously. But Michael Bay does
I don't
like
know Michael Bay hardly at all.
Michael Bay does like explosions, and I know that.
Yeah, he does like multiple angle explosions, which we saw none of, and then also he does like explosions, and this is all CGI. There was no real fire at all in this movie. There was no fire. It was all CGI. The blood was barely there. Like, there was just a little bit, like, when you saw people had bloody ears and bloody mouths, that's the only, like, physical...
Right, or the blood when they're washing it off the streets.
Oh, yeah. Other than that, it was all CGI. So, I like to do, typically, 3 likes and 3 dislikes. I'm going to try to do that for every single movie on this adventure that we're going on with the Halloween Extravaganza number 3. I don't know if it's going to be possible. I'll probably forget sometimes, but I want to run down my... First of all, it was very easy to get dislikes on this movie. Very, very easy. I had to really think about what I liked about the movie. So, do you have any likes or dislikes?
I mean, I think I said most of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to run down my list real quick because it's something that I like to do. Dislikes, though. CGI blood was my number 1. I cannot stand it when a movie does that. The CGI blood in this movie gave me throwback to our first Halloween Extravaganza when we watched 3 from Hell. Because it was straight CGI bullshit. And you know what? That's where most of the fucking budget goes. Because it's so, like, ridiculously expensive to go frame by frame and make sure that blood is spewing out in the right ways and directions. Just use fake blood, people.
I know.
You can get a gallon of fake blood for $12.50 on fucking Amazon. And believe me, I know that because I bought it. I was a haunted house worker for 11 years. I know that shit. Terrible acting in this movie. The acting was just atrocious on like 90% of it.
Yeah, no one had any chemistry. No one seemed
no
like
one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
No one gave a single fuck. Number 3, this is the messy storyline. Like, there was so many instances where we were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? What do you mean? What is going on? And I get it, it's a Purge movie. Like, so it's always going to be a little messy, but this was just really bad. And then my final, I put 4 dislikes, is connected to one of my likes. It's kind of strange. So my first like is the concept. I really like the concept of Purge movies.
Me too.
I think that the concept overall is creative. It's different. It's fear-inducing because it's something that we can kind of be like, oh shit, could this really happen?
Yeah, it's not ghosts. It's not zombies. It's not werewolves and vampires.
It's something that's kind of realistic. It's something that we're like, always kind of like, oh, could this happen? Maybe it could happen. Maybe it couldn't. So I always really enjoy the concepts. However, they always fall short. So this is the one that's connected to the dislike, actually, is the gunplay. I mentioned it a few times because they actually had accurate gunplay, accurate ammo counts. So when they were shooting, the guns would, jam or unload, and they have to go through and fix them. Or, they run out of ammo after 8 shots with just standard pistol shots. Like, that's nice. That's nice to see that. However, the connection to the the dislike, which is what we already talked about, is that the combat is not good.
No.
The gunplay is good, where they're at least accurate with it, but the combat is just terrible. And then last but not least on the likes, which is my favorite thing about the Purge movies, is the costume designs. I love the costume designs. You like it enough that you were a Purge member for Halloween one year.
Right.
I think there was one specific face that I really liked. It was a skull mask, and the teeth that were made, or that were on the skull mask that went all the way up pretty much to the ears, were made of bullets.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
It was really cool, really creative concept. We could talk about the other 4 Purge movies, even though I've only seen the 3 of them, and all of the different masks and costumes that they've had in there. Anyways, I think those are really fun.
It's nice that they're always different. It's not the same.
Yeah, and it's regional. It seems like because was it election year was the one that had like the Statue of Liberty gang and like all the presidents and stuff, and then there was one that the second Purge, Anarchy. Yeah. That was when they had the white faces with the inverted crosses, and those are the ones that had the glow in the dark, face masks that had the X's over the eyes and stuff.
Yeah, they have it. Horror
Nights have them, yeah. So that's really, the design's great. I enjoyed that shit. But other than that, this movie was just a straight up CGI nightmare.
Yeah.
I could not believe how bad it was. Like, I was in shock on how absolutely awful
I wasn't expecting much.
Neither was I.
Even then, I was still disappointed.
Yes. So here on Pick It and Flick It, we do 2 things with our rating systems. The first of which we either say we pick, which means that we suggest watching the movie, or we flick, which means that you could probably pass on it and not have to worry a single ounce about it. And then we also give a scale of 1 to 10, because sometimes you can pick a movie that you should watch and it's not really that good, but it's something that you should have consumed. Or you could flick a movie because it's not necessarily one you should watch, but it was decent at best. And sometimes we get a big mix of that. So Luke's always like, what? Like, I would flick a movie but give it a higher score than he expected.
I'm always surprised by that too.
I know you are. So first things first, Tasha, pick it or flick it?
Flick it.
Flick it, baby. Yeah. I agree with you. This is not
honestly,
worth it.
I'm not one to flick movies.
No, you're not.
You know that?
Yeah, you're not.
So when I do, it means that it's not worth it. It's not worth wasting your time.
I'm actually kind of surprised but happy at the same time that you flicked our first movie for the Halloween Extravaganza. Because I felt like I kind of re-listened to some of the other ones that we've done, both the first one and then the lost episodes that I posted. You were like, yeah, pick it. Like, we should watch it. Like, it's...
Well, because some of them, they're so fast, so fast-paced and so short that it's like, why not? Like, It's fun to watch with your friends. It's fun to make fun of. But, like, this wasn't even fun to make fun of.
No.
It was just, like, usually we have, like, we banter back and forth when there's a bad movie.
Yeah.
And,
we just sat there in awe.
Yeah, and we would say things once in a while, and I'd just be like, this is what's going to happen. And that's also not fun either.
No.
Is when it's so predictable.
Very predictable.
Like, that's not fun for me.
I flick it as well. Your rating 1 out of 10. Give it to me.
A 3.
Wow, really?
You think that's high?
No, I also gave it a 3.
Oh my god! That's why I hid my answers from you. Yeah. Like, don't look at my notes.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 as well. It is not good.
No,
it's just not good.
When I was struggling because as we started talking, I was like, maybe I should give it a 4.
No.
Yeah.
I was almost at a 2. I was almost at a 2, but I just decided with a 3. But there we go. The first movie in, 30 to go.
Yeah.
If you are listening, you've made it this far, drop a subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. We will be posting, like I said, I'm knocking on wood right now. If all goes well, we will have one movie every single day in the month of October. Obviously, this is being posted on the 1st, and we're going to go from there.
We can do it. I believe in us.
Yeah, I think we can
Even
do it
though
too.
Luke doesn't, I do.
No, so basically what it is too, I want to drop this because I think it's interesting. We're gonna do we usually draft, which we did a draft before, but this one started with me. So I drafted, so I picked this one. Then it goes Tosh, and then it goes like a Luke pick ish. Luke just kind of was like, great. Tell me what movies you're going to do.
Show me what you're going to watch, and then I'll decide which ones I want to watch
and
talk about.
And if all goes well, too, our thumbnails will be color-coded, so you know which one's my pick, what one's Tasha's pick, and what one's Luke's pick, because we do get a lot of traffic from Confused Reviews viewers, which is great, and we hope that you stick around and become a fan of us as well. But
so hopefully we have some listeners that usually listen because of Luke, but are now listening
and now
though he's not here.
Yeah, can just hear us rant and rave for 40 minutes. So there we go. Thank you for listening. My name is Vox.
And I'm Natasha.
See you tomorrow.
Purge this movie out of the universe, please.